ladies and gentlemen. It's a Ukrainian talk show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and we have two wonderful guests today. It's Dr. Jonathan Lockwood. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Good to be here, Sasha. Thank you.
Great to have you always. And founder of the network, Nick Paliveda. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Hey, Sasha.
Okay, so the major two conflicts are now happening. One is Israel, another one is Ukraine. It appears to be that they're fighting openly or not so openly, but the same enemies. We are talking about more than anything else. It's Russia, and Russia which directly attacked Ukraine and is most likely helping Hamas, maybe even Hezbollah. But there is another player, Iran, that openly is helping Hezbollah and Hamas. And what is the position of the West against both conflicts? Or you believe that there is no common position of the West of both conflicts, but there is one position on Israeli conflict, another position is on Ukrainian conflict. Jonathan, what's your opinion?
Well, it's hard. It would be hard to call it a conflict against, although it would be say that we are opposing Russia and we suspect Russia of supporting both conflicts because it is in the interest of their strategy to sow conflict and dissension among the Western allies and supporters of Ukraine. So I would say that it is not really, I would not call it a unified strategy by Russia against it, but tying them both together. They're simply being opportunistic. They are exploiting they're exploiting the chances for creating dissension and disruption among the Western allies in an effort to weaken, from Russia's perspective, the ultimate objective of weakening Western support for Ukraine. So right now, it's hard to see that. I don't see that either side approached these conflicts with a unified strategy in mind. They're being more opportunistic than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then I would like to ask this question. Lately, to my surprise, there were a lot of talk on this network about BRICS and their role in global politics. I would like to remind, first of all, that South Africa joined BRICS, the last one, a few years ago. Before it was just 4 countries, Brazil, Russia, China, and India. They are all located in, geographically, they're all very different. The languages, the cultures, the economies are very different. The only thing what unites all these countries, plus now South Africa, is a hatred to United States of America. Nick, what do you think? Is it BRICS' idea of becoming a dominant global economic, political, and other power? Is it real, something that we have to worry about?
Yes, it is a real threat. Not only is it a real threat, Sasha, we ran a poll on a LinkedIn Pod TV poll, and it was almost 90% of the people that responded to the poll. We had about 1,500 people view the poll, believe that, yes, BRICS is a threat. Their goal is to undermine the United States through the world currency, and basically undermine our position as a world leader. And if you look at it, since World War II, our GDP has slipped about 25%. Now, back right after World War II, the United States occupied a position of 50% of the gross domestic product in the world was the United States. Today, it's 25%. So no matter how you look at it, the U.S. is on a decline relative to the rest of the world. When you look at BRICS, you're talking about 2 of the largest countries in the world, India and China, working together, along with 2 other countries that aren't so large, but Brazil's in our backyard, and South Africa, purportedly an ally maybe, aligning mainly to undermine the U.S. currency as the world dominant currency and the world dominant power. China has specifically said they want to occupy the post that the United States currently has, and they're definitely gunning to be the world leader and supplant the United States internationally. So there's absolutely no question. They're in it to win it. And the problem with the people in the United States is we're too busy watching what's on tonight, brotherly love or whatever it is, the old man who's dating the old bachelor. We're watching stupid things on television. Why the Chinese are looking to increase their manufacturing base, increase their economic base, and take over the United States. Why tonight we're watching useless television.
Nick, but you see this show, how you call it, The Bachelor or the Golden Bachelor? Right?
Golden Bachelor, right?
Golden Bachelor. You see this, I was thinking about why the show indeed is so popular is because of the aging of America. So people are getting older and older and older. They want to see some kind of still possibility of happiness, love, and whatever. Because the younger generations, they're most likely being homosexuals and queers and all that stuff. So for them, it's not even a show. But for older people, yeah, that show makes a lot of sense. And Jonathan, this question to you, get ready, please. Nick is absolutely right. Lipo just told us a few minutes ago about Brazil being in our backyard. According to Monroe Doctrine, Brazil has to be United States neighbor, friend, ally. Now, with them being active in BRICS, makes them something different for the United States. What do you think the United States policy against or towards Brazil should be?
I believe that we should diplomatically yet firmly remind Brazil that it is really in their best interest to be cooperative with us on matters both economic and diplomatic and potentially military as well, and that they should be mindful, they should be made very much aware that there is a heavy price to be paid for undermining the United States position in the Western Hemisphere, or worse yet, giving aid and comfort to our potential opponents.
And I think it's not too difficult to supply more aid to Brazil. For example, now it's 4 years ago, three and a half years ago, my wife and I were in Rio de Janeiro on the opening of the annual carnival, and they had a great samba show. Hundreds of thousands of people were watching this show. And if the United States would provide them funding for more samba schools and more carnivals, instead of annual carnival, have it every month. Here is your carnival. Make people happy. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And this way, Brazilians would probably become our friends again. What do you think, Jonathan? Hello, Jonathan.
Yes.
Oh,
I
sorry.
didn't catch that last question.
No, my last question was that it doesn't take that much funding to get them more samba schools, carnivals, instead of once a year. Have it every month or every 2 weeks.
So it's sort of a bread and circuses strategy, similar to the Roman Empire using to pacify their own citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm a little cynical about the true value of that, but it certainly couldn't hurt.
But figure out how much does it cost. It's peanuts to get them more and more.
Well, compared to military expenditures, it's a pittance.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's go back to real stuff. Now let's start with Israel first. So Israel is encircled Gaza city completely. So now the idea of taking some kind of a break for humanitarian help and for perhaps freeing the hostages, maybe it does make some sense, because what Hamas possibly would do, we're not talking about years here. We are talking about maybe a few days, maybe 2 weeks at the most, but even 2 weeks, I think it's too much. So what Hamas could do, some kind of reinforce their forces, to bring more soldiers, to get more tunnels. Jonathan, is there a real possibility of them to reinforce their position substantially?
given their relative geographic isolation and their fact that any potential allies of Hamas would have a really difficult time getting their reinforcements through past Israel. I don't see a real potential for Hamas to do anything in their current isolated position. And right, yeah, given the fact that they have put themselves in a position where Israel has little choice other than to defend itself, and certainly has no compunctions against defending itself or taking aggressive action against Hamas directly, I don't really see the opportunity for Hamas to do any kind of delaying, at least profitably.
Okay, so then the Secretary Blinken proposal to Israeli government to have some kind of a humanitarian break. I don't know for how long. That hasn't been specified there now at discussion stages, but hopefully that will work out itself, and hopefully it will not impede the Israelis' actions in that region, but at the same time will give some humanitarian help there. Maybe some hostages will be freed. Let's hope. Now, speaking about Ukraine, so the war is now a purely positional war. Both sides are entrenched in their positions. The winter is coming, so there is no much progress happening on both sides. So do you think that could create some kind of a possibility for armistice, for stop the fire? Nick, what do you think in this question?
Probably not. The thing is, when you look at Ukraine, you're looking at one country, Russia, invading another country, Ukraine, sua sponte, with not only no warning, similar to the group in Hamas, there were specific statements by Putin that they were not going to invade Ukraine. So he specifically lied, once again, not unusual, and invaded Ukraine. This conflict, though, is a little different than Hamas and Israel. Israel, I have total confidence that they will go in and they're going to clean out Hamas. They're going to clean out the Gaza Strip. It's a very small piece of land, and you've got a really experienced army. And they have 235,000 people that will waltz in there and get rid of Hamas. And there will be no bombs coming from the Gaza Strip. There will be no Gaza Strip to bomb anything. So I have total confidence in Israel with or without the support of the United States. Now, Ukraine's a different story. I do not have total confidence in Ukraine without the support of the West, because they're going against the big bear. The big bear has nuclear weapons, have a large standing army, and they have a lot of resources to use. So over there, we do need to supply them with resources. We have the resources with or without Congress as commander-in-chief. This guy, Joe Biden, if you can wake him up and nudge him, can send over military aid instantaneously and eliminate the Golden Bear from Ukraine, because the Golden Bear does not have a big military budget, not like we have. We have over $800 billion, close to $900 billion that we spend annually on the military. They have $70 billion. Now they're trying to up it to maybe $100 or $200 billion. They're so much smaller than we are, it isn't funny. Now, what is funny is that we have really poor and fractionalized leadership. They have one strong man, Putin. We have a weak man, Joe Biden, and then we have a dysfunctional Congress. So from that standpoint, what we call in sports the intangibles, they're actually better off than we are. If our intangibles would get together, this would be over within a month.
Excellent. Jonathan, this is a question to you. The question is that a couple of days ago, I was listening to one of the programs by Professor John Mearsheimer. Now, he is telling that United States done all its foreign policy completely wrong. They are complete idiots because they have two major enemies. One is Russia, one is China. In case of war against both China and Russia, never mind all those minor players like Iran, North Korea, and maybe some others. United States, the clever policy would have been make a peaceful agreement and become friends with one of these two countries. It's very difficult to do with China, but it's relatively easy to do is with Russia. Just give them parts of Ukraine where they're already effectively already there. Give it to them, get a peace, friendship, and then you eliminate one of two major enemies of the United States. So there is only China left. And without Russia, China may not be even that dangerous, and the United States has enough weapons to deal with China alone, but may not be enough weapons to deal with both of them. Jonathan, what is your view on this John Mersheimer advice?
I think he has made a fundamentally flawed assumption. The Russia is engaging in aggression against Ukraine because they believe that their nuclear arsenal gives them leverage to use their military power in support of their foreign policy goals. Mearsheimer does not take this into account. He does not. He greatly underestimates the value that Russia places on its nuclear weapons arsenal. The fact, as I've stated before, the one thing that the Russian leadership fears more than anything else, is that they fear the potential of American technology to neutralize the one factor that Russia sees as making it a great power, its nuclear weapons arsenal. To a lesser extent, China probably feels the same way. They don't place quite as much value on their nuclear arsenal as does Russia. But it is very much in the interest of the United States and its NATO allies to work in concert to neutralize, through the development of global ballistic missile defense and the upgrading of the Space Force, which would be an asymmetric response to the actions of Russia and China. It is not in the interest of the United States to act in a tit-for-tat type of predictable response to the actions of our opponents. The idea, as in chess, for example, you do not respond exactly in matching the moves of your opponent. You seek to gain an asymmetric response, to throw your opponent off balance, to do something that they are not prepared to deal with. And the thing that the Russians and the Chinese, to a certain extent, are not prepared to deal with is a concerted effort by the United States to use its military technology to neutralize important aspects of our opponent's military power. And that is what I would recommend, and that we should be engaged in looking for asymmetric ways to neutralize our opponent's strengths and our opponent's efforts.
Also, this Professor Mishmar is somewhat devious and very cynical position that U.S. can befriend Russia by giving Ukrainian parts.
Oh, yes. Yes, see, here. Chew on Ukraine for a while. Let's appease Russia by giving them Ukraine as a sacrifice. I don't think the
And
Ukrainians
if it's not enough, there is a Baltic state, there is a Poland as well. So there's a lot of things.
They wouldn't. Russia would not be, has made it clear that they would not be satisfied with simply absorbing or suppressing Ukraine. They have made it clear that their goal is essentially the reestablishment of the Russian Empire. And that does not just involve Ukraine; it involves the Baltic states. And, as a matter of fact, all of the former Eastern European members of the Warsaw Pact during the Cold War,
Absolutely,
they all went and they joined NATO because they knew exactly what the intentions of Russia would be. Were they to become strong enough and recover enough. And matter of fact, Henry Kissinger had warned us about this very thing back in 1991, 92, when we were celebrating the collapse of the Soviet Union. Kissinger warned us that eventually Russia would recover and begin to reassert itself reassert itself in foreign policy, not under an ideological perspective, but simply under a great power nationalistic perspective. And so this is not something we can afford to ignore. We must formulate a coherent counter strategy under a rubric of a foreign policy that is based upon asymmetric response, not trying to mirror our opponents, but to throw them off balance.
Jonathan, I'm afraid that Russians are listening to our programs because
Really?
yeah,
I've already
yeah,
They don't like our programs, but they're listening to it.
they are listening. Yes, I've already got.
simply because they want to resume the nuclear weapons strikes in a stratosphere, which they haven't done in the last 30 some years.
They repealed the nuclear test ban.
Right. Yeah,
So
right.
maybe this is why they feel that the United States will actually put together this missile defense. So they want to try
They
their
better be
weapons.
afraid of it because I'm going to keep mentioning it. I'm going to keep mentioning it. This is the very, folks, this is the very thing the Russians fear. They fear the potential of American technology to neutralize
Correct.
Russia's base of power.
Jonathan, wait a sec. By saying that, and if indeed it's true, and the United States started to work into that direction, don't you think that you may offer government secrets to Russians?
Say what?
Government secrets, that this is a very secretive initiative which Pentagon may work on it already. So now you're warning Russians, okay, here is what's coming.
Guess what? Yeah, here's what's coming, Russia, and you can't do anything about it. You're stuck because the Russians have been terrified of the potential of American technology to neutralize Russia's nuclear power since the mid 1980s. Since they've been terrified of Patriot since the mid 1980s. When I was an intelligence officer working for 10th ADA Brigade in Germany, and my brigade commander asked me what the Russians were saying about Patriot. Well, based upon that January 85 article on Herald of Anti-Aircraft Defense, they were talking about Patriot in the last third of the article. And the author claimed that Patriot, its purpose was to be an ABM defense, protivoraketnoye.
I remember
The strategic defense. Say again?
I remember discussions at that time that Soviet Union, or Russia was already at that time, I don't remember, but probably Russia. So they're accusing that by placing Patriots in Poland, they are trying to derail intercontinental missiles from Russia, while United States was saying not at all, because it's a completely different trajectory of the ICBM, but it's rather against Iranian missiles that they can hit Europe and maybe United States in some distance.
The Russians see any kind of anti-ballistic missile defense as destabilizing. Their version of destabilizing is anything which threatens the military effectiveness of their nuclear weapons. It does not threaten lives, it threatens their leverage, and that is the important distinction. Anything that threatens the military effectiveness of Russia's nuclear missiles is destabilizing to their power.
And then Russians came with accusations that these Patriot missiles can be very easily reformatted into aggressive weapons instead of defensive ones, and that would be very, very unwelcome development for Russia.
It would be very unwelcome if Patriot were integrated into with Patriot, you have an operational level or theater level ballistic missile defense system, and if you integrated that with a space-based ballistic missile defense system, such as housed in an upgraded U.S. Space Force with a space fleet that has laser weapons which can engage in boost phase missile defense. When you have those two types of systems working together, you have the basis for neutralizing the nuclear arsenal of Russia and, by extension, other nuclear powers as well.
So, Nick, the funding for Israel was approved yesterday by Congress. Right. So they're getting most likely a lot of new Patriot, not only missiles, but all systems, and they will boost their resistance to the Hezbollah missiles, which some people believe there are about 150,000 missiles that can hit Tel Aviv and just any place in Israel. And today there was a speech of their leader, Nasrallah. And I don't know what did he say, because I missed that. So What do you think? Will there be a substantial Hezbollah attack against Israel?
I think the jury's still out on that, Sasha. I think the jury's still out on the funding because just because it's passed by Congress, at least the House passed it. So it has to go through the Senate, and Joe Biden has to sign it. And realize that he said, well, I don't want to sign an independent bill without Ukraine being part of it. So I think that the jury is out on that. In terms of Hezbollah joining, Hezbollah would, as Joe Biden said, don't. I think that would be a big mistake for them because then the United States would enter in and basically take out Hezbollah. I think one problem you have, at least in my experience, Sasha, talking to the people from the Middle East, is they have no clue how big and powerful the United States is, nor do they have any clue how big and powerful Israel is. So they live in their own little dream world that if they've got an AK-47, that they're king of their little land. And they're not. They just have never experienced it. So I think that Hezbollah is going to sit on the sidelines because they have experienced it. The people there are too smart to realize to get into the skirmish. I think the United States is going to sit on the sidelines, except we're going to yell, peace, 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 but we're not going to do anything. I think Israel will go wipe Hamas off the planet, at least out of the Gaza Strip. And they're going to have to go to whatever country will take them, which will definitely not be Egypt. So who knows where they're going to go. I don't recall ISIS. Remember them? They're going to create their, quote, caliphate. They're going to take over the world. And today they're completely destroyed. And I think you're going to see Hamas the same way. In other words, and Netanyahu goes, oh, it's going to take a long time. It won't take them that long. They're not that big, not that powerful. This won't go on very long.
But still, Blinken, in his speech today, he said that the only solution is for a lasting peace is a two-state solution.
No, he's wrong.
He's not.
wrong.
He's not.
That's absolutely wrong. Okay, Blinken has no clue what he's talking about. There does not have to be a two-state solution. You know, that's a politician talking. There can be a one-state, at least in Israel. Gaza will be part of Israel, period, the end, full stop. Okay, and in terms of his two-state solution, all he's doing is he's pandering to Palestinians, and that's about it. The only way there's going to be a two-state solution is the other state is going to have to abide by the international rules of law, which does not include crossing borders and invading other countries, which they're soon to find out. So for him to say that is very ignorant by them. His stock just fell on my exchange, if that's what he said, Sasha.
Jonathan, what's your thoughts on a two-state solution?
Non-starter, because a state that is, if one state is dedicated to the destruction of the other state, there's no sense in talking about a two-state solution.
Very soon, two states will become one state.
One way or the other, two states there's only going to be one state left, and Israel is determined that they're going to be that state, and they are not going to. You know, as was one author said that if the Jews, if the Arabs lay down their weapons, there will be no more violence. If the Jews lay down their weapons, there will be no more Israel. It's as simple as that. And so, you in the face of that reality, there can be no two-state solution. Not when one of the so-called states is totally dedicated to the ultimate destruction of the other state.
As a matter of fact, this two-state solution, it appears to me that one-state solution is already there. Israel exists for the last 70-some years. It's already there. You don't have to worry about creation of at least one out of two states. It's already there. So all you have to worry is to create the second state, which I don't understand. If Hamas and Gaza would stop attacking Israel and recognize its right to exist, here is a second state. Build it. Go ahead. Build universities, build schools, the medical hospitals, circus, movie theaters. Just go and do it. Israel is not going to attack you because of your building more hospitals and schools. Absolutely not. So just go and build your state. It seems to me that these people are not capable to build that state. It's apparent from 1948 when Israel was created. So what the Arabs did next day, They attacked Israel. 5 Arab countries attacked Israel to destroy it. They failed, though. Okay, so there was enough time to start. Okay, you couldn't defeat Israel. Build your own state. No, they don't want to build their own state. They want Israel thrown out of the
And
sea.
if you have a people that is not willing to build its own state as part of that two-state solution, there is no sense trying to force a two-state solution upon both parties. Yeah, because one is obviously not interested. They are interested only in the destruction of the existing other state, in this case, Israel.
But you don't have to force the two-state solution on Israel, because Israel did its part already 70 years
Right.
ago. They do have their state. So there should be 2 states. Where is the second state? Show me, build it, do something about it. No, they don't. Only thing what they want is to destroy the state which already exists. I'm sorry, I disagree with this policy. Well, basically,
I don't see any two-state policy or advocacy of a two-state policy as being a viable one.
Yeah.
By the way, the word only is a very bad choice on any SAT, LSAT, or any standardized test. In other words, John, when you say the only solution is a two-state solution, that
Well, it's not.
that's
There
not a
isn't.
start to begin with. That's not true to begin with.
But how it could be the only solution if, okay, you're talking about 2 states? Here is one state already exists for 75 years. Where is the second state?
He's just bloody wrong. If that's what he said, that's totally wrong. He should have said one possibility is the two-state solution. Now, that would be a correct statement. It's
But you know
impossible.
what? I'm surprised that there was a press conference after his speech. No one asked to explain two-state solution. What's going to happen in the first months, in first 3 months, first 6 months, how it's going to be done, who's responsible, who's going to finance it, and so on. No one asked any specific question, not at all.
No.
Because there are no answers to this
There's
question.
no answer. It's just
Okay,
politicians. Everything else.
maybe we'll have some answers next week on Tuesday, same place, same time. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Thank you very, very much for today's program.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.